New setup and see how it is. All right. So, welcome. All right. We're going to try some fun stuff today. All right, hello and welcome. Thank you if you're joining me on Facebook Live. If you're joining me on Amazon Live, I'm thrilled that you're here. Kind of a new little setup today because it's so pretty outside. I started to go outside and then I realized it's just way too bright out there. But I wanted to kind of give you a little taste of sunny Florida today because it's beautiful. Today we're going to talk about archetypes. This is by one of my all-time favorite authors, Caroline Myss, and she has a really interesting perspective on archetypes and who you might be. It's sort of an interesting read on what is your personality type. So she is a spiritual teacher. She is an amazing teacher, I would have to say. She's an intuitive, a medical intuitive by trade, and a brilliant, brilliant author. So every day at noon, I'm here with you to do a book review, and this is the book that I chose for today. So Archetypes by Caroline Myss. I'll put it into the comment section if you're joining me on Amazon. I also put it into the Kindle version as well as the paperback. And so let's begin. So when it comes to archetypes, she was prompted by Christina Carlino to write this book. And basically, she breaks down archetypes, kind of sort of understanding who you are, a little bit of background, maybe your perspective on the world. And so she breaks archetypes down as the new inner net. So instead of the internet, it's the inner net that she's talking about here. And kind of how your um, personality may come through in this breakdown. And it talks about your personal journey, how you might see yourself in different versions of the archetypes. So, how do we identify our archetypes? She says, your identity through your stories, your patterns, your fears, and your talents. That's how you would sort of categorize yourself. And she categorizes them into 10 different types. And then she breaks down how does it work in families? How does it work in relationships? How does it work? How is it useful to us? And then she tells us how to use this book, which is kind of fun too. A lifestyle challenge. You want to recognize your archetype. Do you want to look at the different myths that might be involved? And then she breaks it all down. So chapter 3 starts the breakdown, but the overall archetypes are broken down into 10 different types. Let me see if I can find the overview for you here. All right, so there is the advocate. There's the creative artist. And that was really interesting because she alludes to the fact that it doesn't need to just be painting or drawing. It could be creatives of all types, anything that you find creative in your personality. She talks about the athlete as another type of archetype, the caregiver, the fashionista, which is kind of a fun one, the intellectual, the queen executive, the rebel, the spiritual seeker, or the visionary. So you might have an inclination even right off the bat, which one may or may not suit you for your architect type, architect type. So let's dive in. I found the advocate to be very interesting. Again, it is an advocate. She breaks them down by different types, your unique life challenges, your patterns of behavior or characteristics. The advocate is dedicated to social and political and environmental transformation, which is really cool. Your lifestyle challenge, she gives you your defining grace and even an inner shadow, talking about the flip side of your architectural type. So the advocate. She cites examples of that, like Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, advocates for, could be an advocate for children, for social change, whatever the case might be. And then she talks about your life journey and how you would become validated, a lot of psychological language that is used here, the universal lesson, your lifestyle challenge when it comes to that. And then she talks about the artist or the creative. So let's talk about that sort of personality or archetype. So you see beauty everywhere, the curve of your lover's cheek, the nuance of a shade of green, the sparkle and sunlight on the waves. She has beautiful, beautiful verbiage in her language that she uses as she writes. You listen to music and your heart soars. You dream of seeing your name on a bestseller list. So, the creative type, you could get a creative job. She talks about creative childhoods in here. And then a checklist as well for the artist. Take time to create every day, giving imagination free reign. Have friends and mentors who support your artistic vision and creative lifestyle. Love that one. Surround yourself with beautiful things that inspire you. Have the patience without immediate material gain. So that's just a little bit about the creative type. The athlete, very physical, another architectural type here. To experience life through power and stamina of the physical body. We all know the athlete type, right? Physical characteristics and behavior patterns would include takes great care of her body, enjoys physical challenges and activities, loves massage and body-centered therapies, socializes with other athletes for inspiration, which is kind of cool. So again, that would be the athlete type. And then the next type of archetype she has here is the caregiver. And I think we know people like this as well, right? They are someone who's caring, they are a nurturer, perhaps a mother, a lover, a sister, a teacher, even a rescuer to care for others in ways they're unable to care for themselves. Their defining grace is compassion, which is beautiful. Their inner shadow, sometimes, again, it talks about the flip side of each one of these archetypes, which is really insightful. Maybe feeling uncared for themselves or resentful. And then that would be just a quick little glimpse of the caregiver. The fashionista. This is an interesting one that I thought of all archetypes that would be included. It would be a tastemaker, a stylist, a goddess, a model, a diva. To pursue a life that is not about appearance, but about self empowerment is the life's journey. A unique challenge to develop inner qualities in tandem with expressions of external beauty. So there's really an interesting perspective and depth that goes into each one of the archetypes. So I really find this fascinating. I want to say hello if you're joining us on Facebook Live. I see you there. I see you logging on. I'm really glad to have you. Every day at noon, we're doing a different book review. Today happens to be Archetypes by the one and only incomparable Caroline Myss. She is someone I have studied for many, many years. And this one, I actually came across this book, glimpsing through Pinterest of all things, and started to see some of the breakdowns. And I love that it is available for us. The intellectual, let's talk about that. That's a family of thinkers. It is other expressions of professional, maybe a student, to remain open. The unique challenge is to remain open to new ideas. It's so funny because I can see bits of my and pieces of myself in so many of these, the athlete, in the intellectual, a little bit in the caregiver. So it's kind of fun to go through the book and go, I guess I'm not just one of these. It could be a combination of so many of them. The myths of the intellectual person. If I'm a good person, nothing bad will happen to me. There must be a logical reason for everything, is the perspective of the intellectual. And then she talks about how you relate to your world through the life of the mind and thinking, concepts, ideas, information that's gathered from a myriad of different sources. Really interesting. On a quest for truth. How cool is that? All right, the queen executive is a CEO, a princess, and the life journey is to learn how to be responsible for the well being of others. A unique challenge would be to identify the cause or causes which are worth investing your power into. So, lots of really interesting ideas here as she inspires us to kind of dig within ourselves, see what we may identify with, and then what to do with it. Do you take charge of situations and maximize results? commanding center stage without even trying, using influence over people. So really interesting when it comes to the queen or the executive. I'll jump back here. There's the rebel that is included in here as well. The spiritual seeker. So many of us love reading and seeking. The mystic healer could become the life journey to become a spiritually congruent human being. Defining grace is humility. Really interesting there as well. Behavior patterns, they trust their intuition unconditionally. How cool is that? Searches for true meaning and purpose in life. I love that one. And then towards the back, there is the visionary. And the visionary I found really exciting to me. Continually coming up with new ideas and thinking, what if? The central question certainly of my life. What if? Creating new things. You're not intimidated by risk. You're an agent of change. You sense transformation in the outer world before it even happens. You've always been an outsider. Your approach to life is unconventional. You've been called eccentric and a free spirit. You see problems, and right away you're thinking up solutions. Definitely. You give yourself time alone to think and to dream. So many neat, cool concepts and ideas that are in this book. And then there's a gallery towards the back. There could be an alchemist and a damsel, a gambler, a goddess heroine, a healer, a judge, a lover, a mediator, a mother, a networker, all kinds of really interesting sort of, I call them personality types. She calls them archetypes. And again, that is, who are you really? And an interesting way of looking at the world, an interesting way of dealing with relationships and people. So if you're up for a good read and you want to do a little personality assessment, I would highly recommend this, Archetypes by Caroline Meese. And it's also available, I put it into the audio version or the Kindle version for you as well. So I'll highlight that for you if you're joining me on Amazon Live. So short and sweet today. I want to say thank you if you're joining me on Facebook Live, if you're joining me on YouTube Live. It's my pleasure to be here every day with you with an inspiring book. A quick review on this one, Archetypes by Caroline Meese. Have a great day today, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.